episode 9 of my training ultra running vlog. In this episode, we're covering my latest race, Angeles Crest 100 mile, which is already my 11th 100 miler this year, as I'm racing 100 mile on average every month for the third year in a row. Hey, Simon here. Welcome to my running vlog. My channel is meant to inspire you and provide you information to get out there on trail and have your own adventure. The channel has a lot of my adventure, ultra marathon documentary, a lot of tips video, and this vlog. This vlog is meant to provide transparency and honesty as to what it takes to run ultra marathon and how it's something that is accessible even for average runner and for people like myself that have a busy life, that have other things in life going on other than running. This episode 9 of my running vlog covers everything that happened since Tahoe Rim Trail 100 mile in Nevada all the way to Angeles Crest 100 mile. I'll also provide a little snippet, a little preview to the race, but I'll be posting a full ultra running documentary in a week or two. Tahoe Rim Trail 100 mile in Nevada, which is one of my favorite races. Highly recommend if you haven't seen it to look at the documentary. This is one of my most favorite race, one of the most scenic race. I really suggest you have a look if you haven't seen it. Beautifully organized race, great people, great community, great volunteer, but I did not have a good day. I came in with only 2 weeks of rest since my last race, with only 3 weeks of race since my last race, and really I was accumulating fatigue. My training blog before that also, I put so many miles, I should have rested more, and I regret during the race. I was sleepy, I was in pain, I had Achilles issue, I had tendonitis in my ankles, so it was not a great race. And that definitely impacted how I dealt with recovery in this cycle. Because this cycle, once again, is only 2 weeks between my two races. And when you're talking about 2 weeks, you actually need to count the days. It's not 14 days because you finish racing on Sunday and you'll start again next Saturday morning. So it's more or less 12 days of rest, including traveling, including catching up with work, including going to bed at 3, 4 in the morning to put together my latest movie. All of that is not to complain about it. It's just to say very clearly, it's easier to recover quickly when you can have proper rest, proper sleep. If you're busy, it's gonna be a little bit of a hurdle and you gotta be nicer to yourself. And this cycle, I did the opposite of what I did the time before. I really focused on doing less, on not feeling bad if I'm not running, not feeling bad if I'm not training so much, and really trying to recover so that on Angeles Crest, I would feel not as bad. But still, 2 weeks is not enough to be fully recovered, so it's normal that during Angeles Crest, I will struggle. So overall, what I did is a lot of cross training, a lot of sauna session, some jogging, but mostly walking. So getting active recovery, but not pushing my body, not pushing my joint, especially my Achilles, especially my ankles, which were particularly problematic during my last race. So what did I do specifically? Well, let's dive right in. So first week, immediately, I start on active recovery. I went to the gym, little bit of cycling, but I was in pain, so I didn't push hard, I didn't continue too much, went to the sauna to relax and also just to massage my leg, stretch a little bit. It's not quite hot yoga, but very often when I'm in the sauna, I kind of either just chill or sometimes I'll be massaging or stretching, and it's not as structured as some of these sessions, but I think it's serving the same purpose. Tuesday, I was still feeling pretty bad, but already my cycling, I went a little longer, a little harder, then included some sauna. And I should point it out here, the past 2 weeks, I've actually been pretty busy with work. It's been go, nonstop. So sometimes the workout were not as long as I would have wanted, despite my body being ready for it. This is not the case yet, but I'll try to point it out as to when my body was feeling good enough to push longer, but I just didn't have the time. And Wednesday is a perfect example of that. I was able to go for my little shakeout walk. Basically, that's skipping lunch or lunching on the walk and just taking a breather because the day was so hectic. But after that, I didn't have time to do anything else. In the end, I took basically a 0 day, more or less, which is also beneficial. And I think that's something that we should emphasize. It's it feels uncomfortable sometimes to rest. It feels that we're losing fitness, or it feels that we're not actively working towards something. But it's the mature thing to do sometimes. And that's also, it comes with discipline. Discipline is not only pushing hard. It's also sometimes sticking up to the plan, even though the plan doesn't feel great doing it, you stick to it. And the plan right now is to recover, to focus on recovery, not on fitness, not on anything strenuous. I want to recover, active recovery, yes, but nothing more. Thursday is actually interesting. Nora needed the car for Thursday, Friday. I could have taken my bike to work, but I just didn't feel like biking for whatever reason. Maybe it's all of the indoor cycling that I've been doing lately. I could have run, but also with my computer, going to work, carrying out the clothing, I just didn't feel quite right. So instead I just walked to work and back, which all in all, that's basically an 8 miles total. So kind of a decent movement there. That was good. And that was partly really helpful because I didn't have time to do anything more on that day. On Friday, I was feeling pretty strong because I had been resting basically for the past 2 days. So I did my little shakeout walk, 2 miles, just to do something over lunch when I had a little bit of time. But I also include a hill run, 7 miles, not crazy gain, but just enough to say that I was going uphill. Then I ran to the gym at a decent pace considering the elevation, kind of a 9-minute mile. And at the gym, I had a sauna session. Saturday, I went for a total of 5 miles at 10-minute mile, so it was pretty slow sauna session. I was just not feeling great, so I decided to not push too hard. Sunday, we went back to the gym with Nora. I include a running session, 9-minute mile for 5 miles, so a decent workout, but also some cycling at a pretty decent watt for 1 hour. 170 for 1 hour is decent for me. I was definitely sweating. I was definitely feeling it, especially that I just ran before that I'm still in recovery from 100 miles. So it was a good workout. I was pretty happy about that. That's probably one of the best workouts I had in the past 2 weeks. And then I went to the sauna with Nora, just chit-chatting. Felt pretty good. Then it's already taper week for Angela's Crest. On Monday, a little shakeout walk, little shakeout run. So 2 miles, 3 miles, so a total of 5 miles. Nothing much to talk about here. Tuesday, I went to the gym, crank up the cycling to a 190 watt for 30 minutes. Pretty decent workout. Then a little sauna session. Combining the two made it pretty difficult. When I'm going at 190 watt, I'm really sweating and I'm getting really hot. Then you go straight to the sauna. I was just drenched in sweat, which is perfect preparing for Angela's Crest because it's gonna be hot out there. Wednesday, I'm already dialing it down. Little walk for 2 miles, little 30-minute session. The watt was much lower than the past few days, and then a little sauna session for relaxation. Same thing on Thursday. I just wanted some movement, so a little bit of walking, 1 mile of running just to say I did something, and then sauna. And then that's it. Then we're racing Angela's Crest 100 mile. Now, if we look back at these 2 weeks, these 2 weeks felt pretty bad to me. I'm not necessarily unhappy with what I did because that was the plan, but I just felt bad not running. I felt not necessarily guilty, but I felt the weight of being inactive. At the same time, for me, running, sport, getting on trail, doing these things, it's a way for me to disconnect from work. Work is pretty stressful sometimes. Work is pretty busy, and having kind of a valve to evacuate the pressure is important. So it so happened I was pretty busy with work. I would have needed this kind of high pressure relief, but also I was trying to not work out, and that made for a pretty unpleasant 2 weeks. I was happy that I was able to go to the sauna and have 30 minutes every day for myself, reading, thinking, stretching, because usually that's what I do when I'm running. I'm in my head, and that's very good for my mental health. But I decided to not work out too much that week, and I really felt the burden of that. But I did exactly what I wanted to do. In a 2 weeks cycle, really, I cannot do things like strength training session. I cannot do speed work. I should really minimize running until my heels and my Achilles are feeling 100%. And coming in Angela's Crest, I was not feeling 100%, but I know that I did everything I could to be in the best position possible, because I can't accumulate fatigue too much or subclinical grade injuries. Otherwise, I have it for the next race, and then it's going to get a little worse. Then I'll have it for the one after, and the one after, and the one after. So I really need to take care of these problems as soon as possible. And then we ran Angela's Crest 100 mile. Obviously, I'm not home right now. We're already on the road in Colorado, working remotely ahead of Leadville 100 Mile, trying to get acclimated to altitude. But what about Angeles Crest? Angeles Crest is maybe not at super high altitude like Leadville, but you do go up to, I think, 9,000 feet, and I was feeling it. I was feeling a little bit sluggish when it comes to running uphill or walking uphill. My digestion was really, really bad. But the race itself, so the race is a point-to-point race. It's a classic race. It's one of the old school race in the US. I was very eager to race it, and it's not an easy one. Angeles Crest is only 33 hours for a decent amount of elevation climb and a decent amount of elevation loss, which very often we focus on the climb, but the downhill is really taxing for your leg. It's really taxing for your knee. And I think we had something like 24,000 feet of elevation lost. So really hammering your leg, and especially that I didn't have so much time to recover, I was feeling it. But the big challenge there for sure is the heat. It was hot. It was really, really hot. I saw a lot of people being sick, throwing up. I was lucky I didn't throw up, but I was feeling bad. And really, at some point, I could only take Coca-Cola, trying to drink as much as possible. That was the only calorie I could take. And the heat was so bad. I heard that, I think it was 2 people were evacuated from the course from heat stroke. The last finisher barely made the cutoff and really was struggling at the end. They had to send him to get medical attention immediately. So really the heat was no joke. It was not just not feeling good in the heat, it was straight up dangerous. And you really had to be careful. Luckily, as you've seen in my training vlog, I've done a lot of sauna session. I've been heat adapting for a very long time. So yes, I struggled, but at least I was prepared for that. But beyond that, pretty memorable race. I always like doing new race. I always like a point to point. And that was pretty cool. It's not so far from home for us, just like a 2-3 hour drive. So that was really cool. One note is that apparently 2 years ago when I signed up, I decided that I would do this race solo. So I was in the solo division, which you cannot switch. So I could not have a crew. I could not have a pacer. So instead of having Nora being able to support me, I only had to think about the end goal, which was to race 100 mile so that I could see her, and knowing that I'm all by myself. It's always more fun to race with Nora, but at the same time, I would say about half my race are solo, so that was not necessarily outside of my comfort zone. In terms of how I physically did beyond feeling sick, I was definitely not recovered well enough, so I'm glad that I actually was pushing the recovery agenda a lot in the past 2 weeks. My feet and my Achilles were pretty sore, pretty painful. That was probably the main factor slowing me down. In terms of times, I did pretty much what I was hoping for, but now I'm just really happy I was able to see that finish line and live to fight another day. Because coming in, feeling injured, feeling the heat, not having rested, I was really wondering. I was really wondering if I would be able to finish this race or not, if this would be my first DNF or not. It was definitely a battle. It was definitely a big fight, and really throughout the day, and you'll see it in the running documentary, I was kind of laser focused on racing and doing it and pushing, as opposed to filming and petting dog and making jokes. I was a little more serious than usual, not filming as much and being a little bit more driven to the task. So we'll see how the movie comes out. But of course, I'm working on that right now. I'm on the road. It's a little harder to edit movies, so I would hope that I can release it before my next race, which is Leadville 100 Mile on August 17, 18, whatever the Saturday is. But it could be that I release it the week afterwards. So stay tuned. The best way to know when I'm releasing movie and movie premiere is on my Instagram account, which I'll put the link here. As always, thanks for watching. If you appreciate this video, if you think it's helpful for me to be transparent about my preparation racing these races, please leave a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and share with your friends. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.